Customer experience is one of the most important and challenging topics in marketing today. As part of our series, Speaking with the Most Innovative Marketing Leaders in the World, we're talking with Pernille Bruun-Jensen, who's the Chief Marketing Officer at GoHealth Urgent Care. They're trying to rethink the relationship between healthcare providers and consumers.
Our product is a unique experience. We combine the best of retail with clinical quality of care and also superb design and technology, all incorporated into one great experience. We have urgent care centers, 126 six of them right as of today, actually, across the US from coast to coast, working with 6 different health systems across those states. So a super exciting business to be in.
You're the Chief Marketing Officer. So very briefly, tell us about your role and what you do.
Yeah, so as Chief Marketing Officer of GoHealth Urgent Care, basically, my job is to deliver an amazing experience together with my colleagues. That is what we're here to do. In fact, the vision at GoHealth Urgent Care is 2 words: unparalleled experiences. So as a marketeer, my job is to help our customers find us, to help them find us for the right things, actually services that we can offer, and to give them a fantastic experience on the way to the healthcare that they will receive, support during that, and also, of course, afterwards, and keeping them happy for a very long time to come. So that is what I think about and dream about day in and day out.
It sounds like this notion of experience and customer experience is a crucial core part of how you think about marketing.
It totally is. I really think that we live in an experience economy today, with society as connected as it is. Any brand, any company really needs to take a close look at how does the consumer feel about you. And certainly for GoHealth Urgent Care, we've decided to create an experience business, disrupting healthcare, and really setting a vision for how retail healthcare, what it should look like and how it should feel to customers. So yeah, I'm really keen on customer experiences as overall, and have been my entire career.
Pernille, when you say that you decided to build an experience business, please elaborate on that so we have a better understanding what that is. Absolutely.
Now, clearly, lots of smart people created GoHealth Urgent Care before I joined, and I'll talk about what they set out to do, and that's actually why I joined. I got excited about that particular rendition of healthcare. So the experience was really designed to disrupt healthcare, to bring to consumers what they want, when they want it, and how they want it in today's age. And really looking at consumers would like effortless check-in upfront, an ability to find same-day care or next-day care on their premises on the time that worked for them, and in a place that was convenient for them, often close to where they lived. And then the entire experiences was really created so that as a consumer, you could literally take your phone, find the right center for you in your community, scroll down, look at what time you would like to be seen, that worked with your calendar, and slot that, turn up, and basically on the way there, even upload some of your insurance details so that you could go paperless from the entire experience, and not feeling you always have to answer the same questions over and over again. And just being having a much more transparent, really, relationship with healthcare. And then upon arrival, you're arriving in these great centers that are so beautifully designed, really, to already start the healing process for you. And you come to one of our centers, you see these big windows, light flowing in, nobody's hiding. The moment you come in, you check in on the kiosk, and there's someone from the care team. They will see you, they'll make eye contact. There's a lobby, not a wait room, because the whole point is to not wait a long time. And the flow just goes from here. So the net of it is a flow was created to really deliver on what customers wanted from a new breed of healthcare. And then making sure that what they took for granted, great clinical care, was given to them, of course, at the moment of need. But the build around was so much more than taking care of your flu or your sore throat or your broken ankle. whatever might have happened, right? The build around is that experience. It's not just the care moment in itself, although that's a crucial moment.
So Pernille, this notion of customer experience, of making decisions based on what the consumer cares about, it sounds kind of obvious and intuitive, but it's really hard. And why is it so difficult?
Well, I think any marketeer, right, would say we pride ourselves on being great at understanding consumer insights, turning data into insights, and always thinking about the consumer first. And that everybody would have done historically to create a new product and to think product. When it comes to customer experiences, it's so much more than a product, because you're literally thinking about all the touch points that surround really the delivery that you're ultimately offering at the core of that. And what happens when you think customer experience is you're really trying to understand the customer journey or design the customer journey. And what you're looking at all the touch points that the consumer will have with you, and you're designing for a fantastic experience on every single one. So you really go in with a mindset of design architecture, and you look at the user experience in great detail. You test, you suddenly realize that, wow, they're touching the website at this moment. They are not getting the information they need. We have to make sure they get that. Or why are they asking all these questions? That means we haven't addressed questions early on. So it's just really asking an entire team that is surrounding that customer to think first and foremost about delivering a high bar of a pre-described experience to fulfill ultimately that product promise.
This approach to customer experience goes far beyond marketing. Can we even call this type of customer experience marketing, since it's so broad?
I actually think customer experience is everybody's business in a company that is, hooked on delivering it. It certainly is at GoHealth Urgent Care, right? No matter who you speak to, whether it's the CEO, whether it's the medical assistant, whether it's the radio technologist or someone in my team, or for that matter, in our billing team, everybody knows that we are here to deliver unparalleled experiences. It's all of our jobs. So we hold ourselves to that and we measure against that. Are we making it better for the customer to come see us? Are we making it easier to sign up? Are we giving them overall a more connected experience so we can now help them book that next appointment with the health system? How are we doing our job better to actually overall make the experience a better one for the customer? It's everybody's job. So for me, sitting, and representing the marketing function, that means I'm tied into the business goals, right? The overall vision, of course, and the business goals we have, really aimed at delivering fantastic experiences. And of course, with that, fantastic growth as well, and just a great business at the same time. So I look at all of those aspects.
It sounds like customer experience actually is at the heart of your core business strategy.
It is basically our currency is customer experience. That is what we have turned into our competitive advantage. That's really what we excel at. That is what I'm passionate about. And I think anybody who joins GoHealth Urgent Care will need to be passionate about that. Because just like before, in other roles, I would have been passionate about creating baby relief kits with Johnson's Baby, right? To make sure that parents would have everything they didn't know they needed in terms of sickness or illness for the first couple of years of their child's life. Here, we are re-engineering healthcare, and we are doing it on, really on the premises of what consumers want. So it starts with the human, a deep understanding of the human. It starts with a deep understanding of the consumer and basically saying they deserve the best they can get. Here's how we're going to create that.
That's interesting. You say you're re-engineering healthcare, starting with the consumer, really thinking about that customer experience from the beginning to the end.
Definitely. I think healthcare has there's so much history in healthcare, right? Many healthcare systems, of course, have also been created through amalgamation, buy-ups, consolidation, and often at the heart of that, it's not necessarily that easy to go into re-engineer mode or scratch mode and really design that experience from scratch, because you actually might be reliant on lots of systems that you're now trying to glue together to even be able to connect the customer across lots of different service lines. But I think for us and for anybody who is serious about winning through experience, it's well worth the while to go all the way back to the drawing board and challenge, what could we do better? And I really love how actually using testing to again challenge that. Have you got it right with the consumer, right? How do you know you got it right? This is where user experience testing, just ongoing A/B multivariate testing becomes really important to actually pressure test. Why do you think, in your own company that you're so smart that you got it right? And really constantly trying to compare a couple of different options and see which one wins with the consumer. So that's something I just think is at the real heart of thinking about experiences all the time. That means constantly challenging yourself. Do you have it right? Are you listening to the consumer? And I think really that deep listening was always at the heart of everything in marketing. When it comes to experiences, it actually leads with that consumer voice, right? So you're flipping it on its head. You're no longer looking at the world through the eyes of the brand. You're really looking at the world through the eyes of the consumer, and you're thinking about your audience. You're designing for your audience first and foremost.
Pernille, when you talk about this type of user testing and A/B testing, are you referring to digital marketing, or is that something that you do in other non-digital areas of customer experience?
Yes, of course. I love the measurability of testing with digital. So definitely at the core of what I do with GoHealth Urgent Care is an innate focus on using digital because it's super targeted. And more importantly, I can really get great insights on data and therefore learnings for how we can do better. So I use digital testing actually a lot. What that means is less dependency on focus groups, but really looking at the consumer behavior when exposed to different kinds of concepts or different architecture, different ways to navigate the journey with us. And, and for instance, often I think it really sort of begs the question, should you invest more in marketing or should you invest more in the experience? And most people, when it really gets down to it, most companies will really frown at potentially taking some advertising dollars and investing them in the experience. But I've come to learn the hard way that definitely there's no such thing as a good investment if your experience is broken. So what I really like to do is actually, and I've done that also in other businesses, but also with GoHealth Urgent Care, I try to put a bit of pressure on the journey with the consumer. What if I now invest more? Do the pipes break? Does the experience still hold as you try and go into higher growth mode to higher scale? And what I've uncovered is that potentially an experience that might have worked with lower volume might not work as well with higher volume coming through the pipes. And suddenly that starts potentially to show me, wait a minute, the navigation ain't as great as it could be. Or, oops, this subsection of the website wasn't actually as mobile ready as it should be because, you've been around for a long time. Content might have been out there for many years. And of course, while that has happened, the world has gotten more mobile. So I think that constant testing, learning, and changing your mind and constantly being focused on making the journey better is exactly what drives for a great experience.
So for you, digital marketing in a way, ultimately, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth here. This is what I'm interpreting. For you, digital marketing comes down to, number one, having the right set of experiences that and processes and flow with the customer. And then number two, from a digital standpoint, testing, and more testing to refine what you're doing.
I mean, yeah, basically, when I look at what are my goals, right, as a CMO, I look at, of course, what are the company's goals? That's what I tie to in everything I do. So we got to go and get crazy growth. All right, I'm tying my goal to that. How do I do that? So customer first thinking, I then look at using all of my possible channels, tools, insights, content to really help deliver for the customer so that ultimately we can deliver on the business objective we just set ourselves. And of course, what I find is, and most categories will see this, that often the journey for a customer starts with finding you online. And often that very start is actually the Google search. It really is about being found initially. And often that very start happens in Google, right? So in healthcare, around 93% of people will really start looking for doctors or urgent care really using Google. That's kind of where it begins. So per se, that's outside of where I deliver care, right? Where the team is delivering care, but that's the start of the journey.
Okay, so you're thinking about the customer journey. It begins with Google, and so what does that mean for how you optimize your marketing efforts?
Yeah, so visibility is the starting point, right? Also because we are retail healthcare, so if you are not found, if you can't be found through the address on the Google map through a search, then you actually don't exist when you're delivering a service like GoHealth Urgent Care. So it starts with a couple of things. So specifically, I have a DNA on each retail center, a Google My Business DNA, managing that one very carefully. That one has to be optimized at all times with a very clear profile that's findable at a local level. And importantly, is optimized for mobile, because the majority of people will be using their mobile phone. And then in terms of search on Google, it means a real strong focus on both my branded search and advertising, being totally in tune with what are the keywords that consumers are actually finding solutions by, what are the keywords that they're finding, urgent care by. I absolutely have to be on top of that with the agency and with the team. So it really starts with diving into that, then designing content to reflect that, designing all advertising to be found like that on Google, and then being local about it, right? So servicing communities means ultimately it's a local decision. It's a decision within the community. How am I showing up locally? That's the very beginning. And as a CMO, I got to be all over that.
All right, so that customer journey is beginning on Google. And what happens next? And where does your marketing organization fit into that journey that the customer is taking? What are the activities that you're undertaking?
Yeah, totally hear you, Michael. So you just heard me talk about we are all over search, understanding consumer paths, managing for that local visibility. The content component of that is also a really big area, right? We often talk, when we talk customer experience or marketing in general, we talk about the importance of content. The reason why content is important here, it's another way to be found. And it's another way to be relevant. So content build out is a key component of the arsenal to really ultimately bring the consumer to the anchor, which is really the website, whether that is experienced by mobile phone or by desktop doesn't really matter. But what I'm trying to do is to answer the consumer's question. You have a need, you cut your finger. Can you use urgent care for that? All right, I got to answer all of these questions and now take you to the website. And then the website has to load quickly because you're probably on your phone. So we're looking at speed as a major factor of the experience here. And then you got to land in a place that is super relevant and perfect for the targeting, super relevant to you. If you're asking a question about, can we stitch your finger back together, or can we do an X-ray to check if you have a broken foot, or can we strep test because you have a sore throat and you don't really know why? You want those answers. So content and where you land on the website is the anchor for, all right, you're hearing me, you're listening, you're giving me the right information at the right time. And then basically in that moment, we will make it easy for you. Find your way through Google Maps to one of our locations, call if that's what you prefer, or basically right now, go online, just choose the time that works for you and we'll see you.
And these folks, your customers, may be undergoing, maybe often, some type of severe medical situation, because that's why they're your GoHealth Urgent Care, after all, which means all of this, they're taking all of these steps under some pressure or duress, which makes it much harder for them.
Yeah, the key actually in terms of navigation and helping them make the right choice for their care becomes to make sure that this is a minor illness or minor sickness. Because if it's life-threatening, they should not go to urgent care. They should go straight to the ER, right? So there's this whole messaging throughout that to try and make sure that the consumer is helping themselves and not delaying either, if indeed they should be heading down a completely different avenue. So we offer really that advice at all times. And that's key, right? Because at the end of it, we need to keep them safe, get them healthy faster, and we're trying to direct for that.
Given the importance of that targeting, how do you figure out the kind of keywords, for example, and concepts that you need to be targeting? How do you know that it's relevant and you're doing the right thing?
Yeah. So again, this is where really we do a lot of research looking at different times of year. There are seasonalities in care and in health, right? About now, we just entered spring. We should all be going out and getting active. And allergies might start to get on the rise again, rashes, bumps and scrapes. Whereas, over the winter, we were potentially all more worried about flu and sore throat and strep. But the way I find that out is I work closely with the team and our digital agency as well, and really research behavior. So this is what I love about digital, by the way, that we are looking at real behavior. We aren't just asking you as a consumer, oh, do you care about sore throats? No, we are absolutely going and we are looking at, are you actually searching for that? Do you look as if you're worried about a certain area? And then we look to make sure that we can address that. We are talking about it, that you can find us related to the symptom you might be experiencing. So a lot of that, actually the predominant area of that is done through digital. And this is where, so covering coast to coast in the US, of course, I see differences between the different states, right, that we operate in. And that's just super exciting, I think. So in New York, migration from Manhattan into the Hamptons drives a whole different ask, a different behavior, and that happens in the summer with the holidays coming up. And then in Portland, measles outbreak might be the hottest thing, right? And in fact, it was earlier this year. That was the thing that was going on and that everybody wanted answers about. Segment,
and target consumers based on a whole host of different attributes. I think we call that personalization as well.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm on a mission to give every customer as personalized as possible a journey. And yet, at the same time, personalization ain't the same as a customer experience. And here's why. Because let's say that I get a suit tailored for you. That's highly personal. But it might be that your whole experience surrounding getting your final product ain't a great customer experience. And that nobody thought about a follow-up, or nobody thought about sending you a picture, or nobody thought about letting you know it's ready in 2 days, or automatically reminding you, here's when you're coming in for fitting. So just because you might be creating a product that's highly personalized doesn't mean you nailed the customer experience, because that one is fundamentally about all of the touch points. And where ultimately by addressing those, the sum of those become your new brand. Your experience becomes your product, effectively.
So that customer experience, then, we hear this said, it's the sum of all of the touch points. But from the consumer standpoint, this is intensely personal and becomes very, very intuitive for them if you're doing it right.
Oh, gosh, yeah. It's think about how much we all share. I thought it was super interesting. There was an Oracle study a couple of years ago where they asked the execs, do you think a customer would leave you because of customer experience? And 49% would say Yeah, a customer might leave us because of an experience they didn't like. And you ask the customers and they go, oh, 89% of us have already left because of an experience we didn't like. So, and this was a couple of years ago. It's only becoming more of an experience society. And for sure, what's augmenting that is how quickly we can share. So if you think about where we share, right? We share star ratings, we share on social, we share through net promoter scores that we might give different companies. We share our experiences with each other, whether it's travel, suggesting TripAdvisor or Facebook or Google reviews or Yelp reviews. We do share. And what happens rather more than not, is that actually that is also where we go to get an idea for where we want to shop next. We look at a stranger's point of view before we trust the company who's trying to sell us the service, the experience, or the product. We will rather read up on what are other people saying. Should I buy my next dining table here? Should I stay at that hotel? We actually take into account a great deal of shared content. And what that means is also, if as a business or as a marketing team, we aren't all over that becomes the new truth. That if we're not all over our own experience, what gets shared becomes that new experience. That suddenly then becomes the brand. That becomes what is being said out there. And that is deeply, deeply important to me. So at GoHealth Urgent Care, we track a net promoter score after each encounter, after each care moment. And, we rank in the low 80s to the low 90s. So we look for that love has to be there. We look for that consumer love. And more importantly, it's not just about them celebrating, yay, great scores, kind of in that world-class category, but it's looking for where did we get it wrong? Where can we still do it better? Where did we not successfully ensure that we had a consistent approach to delivering that experience over and over again? So it's uniquely important to really look at what is the consumer saying.
We have a question from Twitter. Sal Rasa asks, do you have the intention to eventually connect patient, family, and caregiver information to the clinical data?
Okay, great question. I mean, if you look at where the world is going right now, even with Apple Pay and Apple Health, already consumers are choosing to actually carry around in their pocket, on their phone or on their watch for that matter, and sharing data. So it's kind of already being tested and it's happening in a couple of places. For me, it comes down to what does the consumer want? And that is where I would always go back and start. So I design for a great experience in everything I do. I test for that. I measure for that. So what we are starting to hear, I think, across the US is that consumers would like more access to their own data. That's certainly what we are hearing out there. And often that's readily available through a patient kind of access area. For most companies offer that. Same at GoHealth Urgent Care, right? There's a patient portal, access all your own detailed data, updates, and take that with you at any one time, not trying to keep it from you. And if anything, already with our health system partners, already actually back and integrating that with the big health system. What that means is you go into GoHealth Urgent Care, you get care. All that data will automatically be shared with your provider. You don't have to lift a finger, so that you will avoid the risk, basically, of potentially being prescribed some medication that would clash with some medication you are already on or some kind of treatment you are on. Just making sure that there's more knowledge around you as a patient to keep you healthy and really facilitating that. So I think there's so much happening on that today. And it's interesting, I'm from Denmark, where that's already in place, where you just take that for granted that the whole care sector is deeply connected. So yeah, I think that's where things will go, but it'll be on the consumer's premises.
Okay, and we have another question from Twitter, and this is from Golden Gate Urgent Care. Historically, patient experience in healthcare was more transactional. And how do you change this transactional mindset in healthcare to something that's more supportive and customer-centric, as you've been describing?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about when you're in a service, when you're delivering a service as part of your customer experience, it's not really technology will help you do that and to help you deliver a great experience. But at the end of the day, it comes down to phenomenal hiring, the talent. Who is the person who you now trust to take care of that care moment? So at the moment of truth, right? That is at the moment of care. Someone is ultimately seeing you because they have an issue, they have a question, they are worried, they feel bad. How do you deal with that moment? And I think this is where part of designing that experience, a crucial part of that, is designing and defining exactly who's the right person to represent the experience that we want to change the world with, who has the right attitude, who has the EQ to really listen and engage with someone without trying to talk down at them or talk just to them, but who really engages and understands and takes all of that into consideration. So one of the things, for instance, that we actively do, so, you come, you're seen for care in a GoHealth exam room. Basically, in that room, you might say, I searched on Google and I think I might have this symptom. Okay, we'll bring it up on the screen right there together. And we'll talk about, is this what you found? Is this what you think you have? All right, now let's look at what's going on. So it's this kind of active listening that I think is such a big deal. But it starts with recruiting and training the right people, culture, onboarding, training, just getting the people in that can really deliver that experience.
Customer experience really is the kind of next evolution of how we've thought about digital transformation. Any thoughts on that?
Customer experience is the new currency of how you win in market, and that most companies, most brands can really benefit from that kind of design architecture thinking, where you're really taking care of every single moment that matters to the consumer, every single interaction they have with you. And you want to win every single one, right? But more importantly, that you run KPIs on that you're holding yourself accountable to delivering against high bars of excellence that you set yourself, and that you hold everybody accountable to that. Because I also do believe that without a shared vision and a similar focus on actively delivering on KPIs, like, for instance, Net Promoter Score or star ratings, and really looking at that, if you're not dedicated, and that's from the very top, then it won't happen, right? So back to my point about, do your execs believe that customer experience can really be the differentiator for you and how you win the consumer's hearts and minds, or not? Because if they don't, someone else is going to take that baton and run with it and make that count. And that's what I fundamentally love about my job. We really, in GoHealth Urgent Care, all truly believe that customer experience is where it's at, and that's how we're going to change the world.
Let's talk about data, the role of data in customer experience.
Yeah, so of course, love data, but I only love it as long as I get insights from it. That's really where I always go with data. So the beauty of our connected world is, of course, we can learn so much more, and we can learn it faster, provided we care to look for it and, get the tools in place to actually really understand what is going on with the customer, where can we do better, right? So data is at the heart of being able to understand that. So the way that I would figure out that I would need to actually fundamentally change a key part of the customer's journey would be to analyze the data, right? So I would really look at data as my input for, where are my potentially conversions breaking? Where's my engagement dropping? Is my speed not there? Where's the consumer dropping out? And I want to learn that early on. If I wait for the Net Promoter Score until after they've actually had the care, that's after the event. I must measure through data all the way through the funnel, all the way through the customer's journey, and make sure that I understand, are we broken somewhere? Should our experience be fixed? Do I need to test and change something? And I even do this with advertising as well, no different. I use data and customer behavior as the real metric to see, do they like this version versus that version? Very simple, to get more insight.
Okay. And in the spirit of rapid fire questions for you, because we're running out of time, we have a question from Twitter. And Kurian Varagisi asks the question, how do you leverage insights from local communities to improve operations of the urgent care center, such as working hour, the type of services provided, and so on?
Yeah, it's a lovely question. Thank you. So basically, I partner with a health system in every state that GoHealth Urgent Care operates in, and that means that there will be the chance to go to a hospital should that be the end game, and of course, a hospital never closes. So partner to make sure that opening hours reflect when care is needed, right? So, of course, I'm in business, so let's start with that. Not in a non-for-profit. So delivering an experience means not just, means creating a great experience, but also being mindful of course, what are your business goals? What are your KPIs? Delivering return on investment. And being in a for-profit business, I think about that in healthcare too. So what that means is absolutely researching locally when are consumers looking for care. Fairly easy to do. Again, starting with digital, it actually is really easy to find that out. And we look at that, and we actually design opening hours based on that. And you'll find that typically GoHealth Urgent Cares run 8 to 8 on a given day, and at the weekend 9 to 5. And that is really reflective of when the consumer wants to see us. So it started with that mindset. These are not random hours. In terms of what they then want to, see you for, that's back to what I shared. We absolutely research that. In a local community, there might be a higher, let's say, group of senior people living closely, right? What sort of care might they need help with versus, let's say, an area where we have lots of families potentially living, close to that center, and soccer season is just starting. So care really flows with how the year goes and what the population is surrounding that. And basically really look both population data to look at that, but back to real behavior data. And then let's never forget, you always learn a lot from the customers you ultimately get. They start to tell you something. So really taking a good look as who's walking through your door gives great insight. And certainly for me, that's a data point that I also use more qualitative to really look at who's ultimately finding us, but also speaking with our Go team members in each center. Tell me more. What are you seeing? What questions are you getting? Just having that chat. And they all write a report at the end of every day on what went all that day. And I read that. And that gives great insights in itself.
So there's a constant feedback loop between the data that you're getting in and how you're changing, iterating, adjusting your services, basically everything about the operation.
Well, absolutely. Like last night, right, in our Connecticut market, I saw in the report from one particular center that they were talking about, lots of customers are actually on this forum, and here's what they're talking about. And they heard that. They heard that from a patient, from a customer who was right there. I then go look at that and yeah, this is interesting. The community is really engaged here. And then I learn what they're talking about and what they need. So it totally works, but it's dynamic.
All right. As we finish up, we have just a few minutes left. The future of customer experience, any thoughts on that?
I'm a believer. I think customer experience is where it's at. It's only going to become even more discriminative, like who's got it and who doesn't, right? So when we look at star ratings and reviews, this is where the world is going. I'm sure each one of you, if you look at your own business, when I look at mine, I constantly have more reviews, right? More ratings to actually understand. And the consumer is active, they're sharing, and people are influenced by it. So I think customer experience is really where it's at. And even at GoHealth Urgent Care, we don't stand still. So one thing is what you can see online now, or even when you go into one of our centers. And then we got a lot of things going on that we are testing, black boxing, figuring out that will keep delighting customers for years to come.
Any final thoughts or advice that you can share based on what you've been doing with trying to create great customer experiences, share advice to people who are listening and saying, yeah, I want to do that too, but I'm sort of unsure how?
I think number one, right, you can't do it alone. So if you're in marketing, you can't be off in a silo and think that you by yourself can create a great customer experience. It is a team effort. And that means really partnering, aligning really together with the leadership team in the business and partnering across all functions to get there and challenge each other. So I love when we can challenge each other and how can we do something better? Ask our team members to challenge. Are we getting it right? I would start with that. There's a lot you will know just from the data, the insights, the team members you have today that can help put you on the right track. And then really just as a minimum, start reading your reviews. I think reviews are such a rich place to go hunt, because if you're winning, you will know from the love that you're seeing in those reviews, and it'll be few opportunities for improvement that you'll find. If you're not, in those 4 to 5 star ratings and your reviews reflect that, or world-class NPS, then actually that's a chief indicator that it's time to really rethink and try and change things up.
That's very outstanding and practical advice. Pernille Bruun-Jensen, CMO of GoHealth Urgent Care, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Awesome, Michael. Thank you so much.
Everybody, thank you for watching CxOTalk. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube and subscribe to our newsletter, and we'll keep you up to date on all of the amazing videos and guests that we have coming up. And also, please tell your friends and colleagues to subscribe as well. All right, everybody, have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.